In a world that often feels disconnected, uncertain, and overwhelming, there has never been a more important time to come back to love. I'm Robyn Vogel, psychotherapist, relationship expert, love and intimacy coach, and the author of Come Back to Love, A Path to Healing. For over 20 years, I've been sitting with people in their most tender, courageous moments, the heartbreaks, the longing, the walls they've built around their hearts, and the quiet hope that real love is still possible. I created Come Back to Love because I know what it feels like to be capable, successful, and still quietly wonder whether love is truly available to you. This work is deeply personal to me. I've walked this path myself, and for more than 20 years, again, have helped people reconnect with the parts of themselves they learned to protect. My mission is simple: to help you remember who you truly are, expand your capacity for love, intimacy, and authentic connection, and create a life and relationship you genuinely love. Through immersive transformational experiences, I support spiritual seekers in reconnecting with their deepest truth and stepping into the lives they're meant to live. This show is a sanctuary, a place to heal the past, reconnect with yourself, and fall in love again with your life, with others, and most importantly, with yourself. And we are on Come Back to Love on KMET radio station, your ABC News radio affiliate. We are here on Thursdays, 1:30 p.m. Pacific and 4:30 p.m. Eastern. This show airs live in Southern California on KMET 1490 AM and 98.1 FM. I'm so happy to be here again with you this week. Welcome back to my weekly listeners. And today I have a special guest, Kari Morin. Kari is a master certified transformational life and empowerment coach, retreat leader, and podcast host who helps women reimagine what's possible in their lives without burning themselves out in the process. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. She co-hosts the podcast, The Things We Know, and leads women's retreats. Kari is also a longtime caregiver to one of her three sons, who has an intellectual and medical disability, and that experience shapes much of her work. She's a contributing author to the upcoming book, Suddenly Brave Together, a collection of letters from caregiving mothers written years after their own pivotal moment. Kari lives in Portland, Oregon, with her husband of 30 years. And I am so happy to be here with you. We have several things in common that I am looking forward to talking about. And yeah, just welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here. What beautiful, beautiful work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I would love to, the word suddenly brave together actually is what's on my mind. And I want to start out actually by saying I don't have a disabled child, but I do have a disabled sister.
Mm,
And probably different than what you're experiencing, but it is a very unique experience to have in life. I very rarely come across other people that have had the same experience that I have had, and it continues to impact me as an adult. Um,
mm,
and so, yeah, I wonder if you want to just start by talking about Suddenly Brave Together, or like how that, what in your life brings you to contribute to a book with such a beautiful title and already beautiful energy.
thank you. Well, I'm really lucky that I found an organization called We Are Brave Together. It's a nonprofit organization started by a mother of a disabled son, because it is such an isolating experience for parents and families. And so, because I'm part of that and I help support a local chapter of caregiver moms, I was asked to, contribute some writing for it. And then I got selected. And I think 30 of us got selected. I don't know. I think the book ends up with 25 letters from moms, decades later on what they've learned to those moms. And the reason it's called Suddenly Brave Together is because you are thrust into that. Most of those letters are written by women or, who got their child's diagnosis at the hospital. That didn't unfold that way for us. But a lot of scary and confusing things happened over time, which is its own kind of hard. Suddenly you got to really buck up in new ways at different levels kind of experience. And so I wrote about that in my chapter. And I love that you're a sibling because I talk a lot about my other sons and their experience and the impact and the growth and the gifts, that have unfolded for all of us, because it isn't just me and this child, it's all of us. And the traumas you have, in my son's case, it's refractory type of rare epilepsy, which is uncontrolled multiple types of seizures. It's traumatic for anyone to witness a seizure or care for one in a different way that it is for my son, who doesn't remember them at all, right? And so yeah, so I think that the idea of this book is that it is sharing the voices of women in their pivotal moments, to let the other women going through it and parents going through it know they're not alone.
Mm, right, right.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. And so, is your son who has this um, ability? I have a lot of trouble
Mhm.
with the language
I know,
because
I know. It's
I don't
so
really like
confusing.
it. It's so
I know.
confusing. My sister was I, identified in some way when she was a child, but we would never use that language now, nor does it
Right.
even apply.
Right. Oh, and trust me, like there wasn't anything really obvious right away. And each time you're like, okay, this is helpful. When you don't have a specific diagnosis, you think you want one. You think you want one because then there'll be like a like instructions to follow and a
Mm,
path to follow. But even then, everyone's situation is different. But when
right,
you don't and you get one, you're like, what? That doesn't match him, right?
right.
So it
Yes,
is, and it is hard. Disabled really is a discounting kind of description, and I'm sure not everyone appreciates that, because there's so many other abilities that they grow even bigger around it to
right.
compensate. So yes,
Yeah,
he has
different
multiple
people.
disabilities. He has a
Yeah.
medical disability. He has an intellectual disability. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. My sister has an intellectual disability. I would say that would
yeah,
mostly categorize, but the same. And that's interesting to hear it, to talk about it with you, because it was the same. It was the same and it is the same. There is actually even now no diagnosis. There was something that happened at her birth and she didn't breathe right away and that impacted her, but there's no diagnosis written on a piece of paper. Like your sister has this, and
right,
therefore, right? And then I could follow that as kind of
right,
a
right,
science mental health person. I could follow that with some, I don't know, conclusions, definitions that are also like way too limiting anyway. Uh,
right.
yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Well, she's in her 50s now and doing amazingly well.
Oh,
Um,
I'm so happy to hear that. Is she living independently?
yeah. Yeah. She
That's
did.
so great.
Yeah. Yeah. She's amazing. 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 She did lots and lots of things that when she was a child, nobody ever thought she would be able to do. So it's like, blow all of that out of the water, you know.
And then that's the thing my husband and I have said so many times. It's like, especially because my son is in the middle of three same gendered siblings. So there's three boys.
Yeah,
And so when your trajectory doesn't look like someone else's,
right.
and someone sits across from you and says he'll never be able to do this, he'll never be able to do this, like that can be really defeating.
Yeah.
Well, what they don't see is like his trajectory is still going up. It's just at a different pace in different ways. And he
Yes.
teaches us as much as we teach him. That's for sure. So it's really learning to look at it differently, and like take that in, but also look at your child and let them lead as well.
Yes. I'm really loving this conversation because it was the same exact thing with my sister. You know, they said she wouldn't be able to do certain things, and exactly what you said. She's matured at her own pace, but absolutely is growing and developing and maturing and teaches me things all the time. And I'm going to bring in my come back to love like mantra
Mm-hmm.
here because um this piece around not defining and holding on to limiting beliefs and drawing conclusions. I can't ever do this, or a lot of people say, well, this is going to happen because it happened like this in the past. And there's so much sort of conviction around history predicting the future. And
Right.
you and I have also in a different context, but applicable to life, have experienced the opposite of that,
Right.
completely the opposite of that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. It's and I actually there's a part of my chapter in the book, and there's other wonderful, oh my gosh, letters in there that'll
I
just
bet.
blow your heart wide open. But where I talk about that, where my older son said it is, we it breaks our heart sometimes that like he missed mostly most of high school. There was a lot of medical things that started to happen once he hit puberty. He was able to get like K through 8,
Mm.
in a setting that felt, just like inclusive because it was a smaller school. But once puberty hit and high school hit, and we're not really sure why, if hormones had something to do with it, because it's such a rare genetic mutation, we discovered that in his case looks like a rare form of epilepsy, right? But he missed so much of high school. And so we would have our hearts broken that, he just didn't have time to make friends and like connect with people. And he's such a social being. And my older son said, to love him and be loved by him is such an extraordinary gift that like, my friends are better for being friends with him too. And like what he brings to anyone who's lucky enough to know him is so dear. And he's very thoughtful and memorizes everyone's birthdays and reminds us like every day he texts the family like it's our great aunt's birthday, or like he knows everyone's birthday and their favorite colors and all that, and it's just an extraordinary kind of love.
Wow, that's beautiful. And just again, bringing a little overlay with the come back to love, this pattern, I guess, or behavior that some people experience, which is like staying away from things that are different or that they don't understand. And it's a huge detriment to do that. And whether you're in the dating world and you look at someone and you're like, I'm going away, I'm moving away, just based on what somebody looks like. Or you even, won't connect with people for any number of reasons that are just really based in judgment. And I talk a lot to myself and to, my clients and workshop participants about what would it be like to move through a space where everybody in that space that you don't know yet is a potential connection, a lover, a relationship, a work acquaintance, like on any level, who knows, right?
Right, right.
But to be open to receiving love in the ways that we don't expect love to be, because it's not prescribed that way. It's not shown that way in the movies, it's not that way
Yeah,
in the romance novels. And it gets confusing. And for people, I think, and for the people that have had the experiences like you've described, I love that your older son, like spoke those words. That is so heartwarming. But it really
yeah,
does open up love to love, period, but also to love being in different forms and not often what we
yeah.
expect.
I imagine your work does a lot on grief.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it can
because
be a
I
lot of healing.
listening to you, it's occurring to me that like there's no that's a theme throughout this book. There's no bypassing grief or allowing yourself to grieve
Right.
what what you had hoped for them, right?
Yes.
As like as long as you don't live there, and again, I'm not saying there's a time limit on grief. Come back to it as often as you need, but it is really truly an opportunity to kind of I heard someone say recently, like we center romantic love too much. We center what's normal too much. And
Mhm.
I like what we find typical in a lot of societies, probably not all, but is you go to high school and you have this group of friends and then you meet someone, you fall in love and all this, and that's all great. But considering that normal it like or typical makes people who aren't following that path feel off, and the love and connection that Griffin has in any relationship he has, even with his caregivers who feel like friends, is so strong, right? And that doesn't mean he won't access romantic love. I'm sure he will. He's got a desire to do that. He'll make that happen. But
Right.
um, I think that's what's really striking to me is there's so much more love available to you if you don't expect it to look a certain way.
Hmm.
And there's so much like richness in relationships available to you if you don't expect it to look a certain way.
Yes, because in the expectations, really, you're blocking what's
Right,
outside of that quote unquote normal, you know.
right.
Yeah, so shout out to those that are listening that feel like they haven't been on the typical or the normal path. I don't even know what, that means, but
Right.
anyway, defined by culture and or family, culture. And yeah, just to know that everything's right exactly the way it is, exactly the way that it's happening.
Yeah.
A really wonderful paradigm shift to embrace. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about your retreats and that work with women.
Thank you. Just because before we leave that topic, I will say We Are Brave Together does offer retreats for caregiver moms at a
Oh,
really affordable price. So if anyone's listening who is identifies as a caregiver, get on their website because you can find out about retreats all over. And it is nice for me to go to one and receive one because I have
yes.
done that. But I do love the retreats Lisa and my partner Lisa Callahan and I put on twice a year. It was a kind of a vision we had when we were working together as coaches for an online education company. And the more and more we were working with those students, with our own clients, talking to our peers, we were in our early 50s at the time. We're on the later end of 50s now.
Hmm.
We were like, God, it's so prevalent. It's so common for women to have one of two, and probably more than two, but what we were running into was two pretty typical attitudes about empty nesting and getting older, towards retirement, getting into this age where they weren't actively raising kids, or if they didn't have kids, even then they were just kind of feeling like either it's going to be super fun, but I can't find anyone to go do that with me. Everyone's too busy. Or I just kind of got to, you know, it's all downhill from here. And I just kind of got to deal with it, whether it's, menopause symptoms or, um, not knowing what to do with myself with my kids gone, or not knowing what to do because I got laid off or wasn't expecting this divorce. Like a lot of just, I guess this is it now, right? A lot of complacency or kind of giving up. And we were like, it could be so great. And we do need to actually make it happen. I think a lot of people, including me, assumed when our kids were older, we'd have a lot more time for each other. And it's just not happening. Like I'm getting together with friends tonight and it's taken us 2 months to like get a date on the calendar.
I hear you. My
And
God.
so it's bizarre because like, I mean, I have kids at home mainly because Griffin's going to be with us for a while until we get seizure control, and my other two happen to be home this summer. But in general, most people don't, and still it's hard. So putting something on the calendar, inviting people to commit to a dynamic, weekend with other women. And the theme of our retreats, we call them best chapter yet. And that means different things to different people, right? How are you going to make whatever chapter you're in your best chapter yet? Um, and and we start, I think what makes our retreats powerful, because it's such a short time, right, to invest in a weekend, and you're like, God, we arrive on a Friday and we leave on a Sunday.
Uh,
We start, kind of doing some work with people ahead of time, and then we meet on Zoom. Not ideal, but at least it's something where people are connecting. And so by the time they come in to that first meet and greet, they're already looking for each other, and they've already found like, wow, I didn't realize someone else had that going on too, or this is so exciting, or oh,
mm,
I'm thinking of going to grad school now too, that kind of thing. So I love the retreats for that reason. It is it's such a beautiful way for women to come together. And when you decide that you want something more for yourself, the way you're really going to make it happen is by making a decision to show up and be witnessed, right? Because you can decide that, like any of us, be inspired by something and then get distracted. If you actually invest the time and show up and say, I want more for myself, or this is what I'm envisioning, and you have a bunch of women looking back at you going, you can have that. And here's how we're going to work through this weekend, helping you map that out. It
mm,
really tends to happen. And for some, it's happened over the course of several retreats. And for others, it was like, that's what I needed, was just that confirmation and confidence to like move away for a year and try something else. And, so things like that have unfolded, and it's just been really exciting. And
mm,
I think we're good at it. I think we hold space really well. And I think having a retreat partner
mm,
where one of us will be leading at a time and the other one's really, kind of feeling what the group needs. And so we guide each other that way, I
yeah.
think is what makes it pretty powerful. But also it's just the quality of the women we attract and what they bring to each other, which is
Mhm.
just always amazing.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
tell me more. It makes me feel curious about wanting to hear, like, maybe think of one person that you're, or some group of people, but just like What
Mm,
is typical for a woman to come in with? I did hear something about burnout when I was reading your
yes.
bio um,
Yeah.
to our listeners.
Oh, okay. So let me think. There's one, oh gosh, there's so many, but
Yeah.
when I think of burnout, I think of like one of our youngest people to attend and was in her late 20s and left her toddler for the first time ever.
Wow. Wow.
And she was definitely on the verge of burnout, trying to figure out work and, working from home, partly working outside of the house, managing all that, feeling guilty
Hmm.
and even feeling guilty leaving, and really thought she really wanted to come because she had worked with me. But she was also just really not sure it was going to be the right fit for her. And what was great is she showed up, and what she heard was a lot of stories that helped her feel less alone, that people could relate to from their own journey. She
Hmm.
also got a lot of like, wow, the fact that you're even looking at something like this for yourself at that age is so profound. Like you really are figuring it out way sooner than the rest of us did, right? So she's come to everyone since, or maybe she missed one.
Oh,
And
wow.
watching like what's unfolded for her each time, is it's like, I don't want to say she's a different person. She's always been phenomenal, but watching her know that she has really created a path for herself that feels really good, and it doesn't feel like compromise, is really exciting. I have another friend of mine who came and was at that empty nesting place in her life and wasn't sure what she wanted to do. She had actually written 2 books. She's a nurse, a hospice nurse, and we did this exercise. It's an NLP exercise called belief chain, or experience chain, depending on who calls it what. But it really was like mapping out kind of where she wanted to be in her life and how she was going to feel, and what she was going to be believing about herself as she stepped into that. And then also just doing a lot of like identifying the parts of her life that really were important to her. She came out of that and committed to like move across the country for a year, live near her older children, and go to grad school and get a master's degree. And
Oh
she's
my
like, I
gosh.
really don't know if I would have done that if I hadn't had like women around me going, of course you can. And just taking
Wow.
the
That's
time to work
powerful.
through something that's like an inkling and really make it, become a vision that you can see yourself stepping into. And those are just two. I could probably come up with so many more.
Wow. Well, those are two great examples of really giving yourself the space to come back to what's true for you. I mean, we're running at 90 miles an hour, not everybody, but a lot of us. And so, retreats, I'm a big fan. I lead, my own 2-day and 7-day retreats every year, a couple times for the last many, many years now. Big fan because
Nice.
it gives people a space to take a breath and pause. And your examples are so good because it sounds like they just had spaciousness to drop into their own hearts to identify something that's really true and authentic, but then also to have the space to start to plan
Yeah.
the actual transition and transformation outside of the retreat, which is really the most important piece,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
living into it. Wow,
Yeah.
beautiful. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So when is
Well, I
when
mean, you
is
too. I'm glad you're doing retreats.
yeah, me too. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. I have a weekend in September in Western Massachusetts in the Berkshires, and then I have Costa Rica, which is one of my annuals, because I just love Costa Rica, and that's in December. What about for you?
Well,
When is that?
we may be the same weekend in September. We
Uh-huh.
tend to do a fall. They've so far been in Chicago. This year we're doing Portland, where I live, which I'm excited about.
Nice.
And it's September 18th to 20th this year. And we haven't totally filled it, but it's close. And then we in the winter we like, because a lot of our people who come to the Chicago retreat are Midwest or East Coast. We like to do someplace warm in the winter/spring. So we've done Laguna Beach, California. We've done Palm Springs, Arizona, and right now we're zeroing in on where that's going to be next, probably April. Yeah,
Awesome. 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 Yes, I've been pulled to Sedona, which I have not led a retreat there yet, but it's
I
could be
love
next year.
Sedona. One
Yeah.
of my favorite places.
Absolutely. The energy's there. I mean, it's the same thing with Costa Rica in a way, like the land and the water, the ocean, the land, the the rainforest. the mountains, like it all contributes to the transformation that happens. Like it really,
It does. It is a
yeah,
very yeah, that is a grounding place. Whether you believe in that stuff or not, you will feel better being there.
exactly. Just drink the water and
Yeah.
you'll have a
Yeah.
transformation, right?
Right.
Yeah. Carrie, thank you so much for being here. It's been so much fun for me actually to talk with you, having so many overlaps in different places in life, but some common experience. I don't know what your mothering experience is like, of course, at all, but I can kind of imagine some of it just given how it was when you
Yeah.
grew up, how hard it was
Yeah.
for my dad, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is a blessing in a lot of ways to
Sure. Yes.
just have the opportunity to have, um be part of a family. And it's always just such it's beautiful work, right?
Yeah.
The family I was born into and the family I'm creating, and I never
Yeah.
feel like they're mine, but I feel really lucky to be part of their their journey. Yeah.
Well, that's another bit of wisdom there. So, just before we end, where can people find you?
Well, Kari Morin .com is kind of how I simplified it, because I went from doing a lot of health coaching in the past to more life coaching. I do a little bit of both still, but mostly I'm doing the life and empowerment coaching. So I just simplified it. KariMorin.com is an
Yeah,
easy place to find me.
except
Also,
it
the things,
Kari. We have to say that.
yes,
Yes.
KariMorin.
Yeah.
And then also the Things We Know podcast. It's wherever you listen to podcasts. I think there's a little something for everyone.
Yeah.
Some of them are really fun and light. We love to feature a lot of people like you, so hopefully we'll get you on. It's our favorite thing to do is interview and promote amazing women like you. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Same, same. Well, I'm Robyn Vogel. This is the Come Back to Love radio show. We're on KMET every week, every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be gentle with yourself. Love is possible, and it starts with coming back to you. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to Kari. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week. Have a good
thank you.
day.